Hey everybody, this week what we're going to be talking about is wellness and gardening, and how those two things really support each other, and what we can do in this crazy time that we're going through right now, and carry into our everyday lives to really promote wellness, promote healing, decrease depression, decrease anxiety, just increase happiness, feelings of joy. How can we do those things? What's the science behind how gardening works with that? And what can you do to incorporate into your everyday life to really get the most out of gardening and plants, to promote wellness within yourself, with your kids, with your friends, really whoever. So we'll start off by talking about first, what is wellness? There's lots of different ways to define wellness, but overall, it's a state of complete physical, emotional, mental, and social well-being. So really touching on all of those aspects, and creating this sense of well-being within one's self. And through wellness, through gardening, it's developing some of those coping skills and different perspectives that are useful to living our life to its very fullest. And using those tools that we can gain through gardening and through plants into our everyday life, so it doesn't just have to be in the garden that we are experiencing wellness. We want that to encompass our whole life. We want that to surround us all the time and bring that wherever we go, and that can be done, and we can take that away through gardening and through plants and through nature, and it's a beautiful experience, and I'm super excited to share that with you all. So first, what we'll touch on is this term called horticultural therapy. This is not a common known practice. This is not necessarily like a common known thing. It is kind of something that is pretty specialized. However, it is coming up a lot more in the world that we're moving into, finding more natural, holistic ways to develop that healing and wellness. And so basically, horticultural therapy is working with and around plants, and that can bring about positive, like psychological, physical, emotional changes, and just improve our general life. So some background and I guess some more information about horticultural therapy in general is I like to compare it to, sorry, dog barking. I like to compare it to like music therapy or animal therapy. So those are two practices that use different strategies to promote healing with different populations. That can be anybody from people with mental health problems, depression, anxiety, individuals with developmental or intellectual disabilities, people who have been incarcerated and things like that, using music or animals to promote healing. Horticultural therapy is very similar, however, it's just using plants and gardening techniques to also promote healing. So it's used for many different populations, and it is something that you will hopefully be seeing more in schools, in prisons, in hospitals, things like that, as a more holistic approach to healing, and just as a way to give therapy in a different way that really works for many people. So oftentimes horticultural therapy can be perceived as the woo-woo therapy and things like that, but thankfully there's actually a lot of science behind horticultural therapy, and there's a lot of backing to why this form of therapy really truly works for people. And there's so many different things that we can get into, so we'll just touch on some of the really big ones that I do find gives this practice of horticultural therapy credibility, and hopefully will make you intrigued and want to try it yourself. But so nature and plants and just being outside Research has shown that has so many benefits to not only our emotional and our mental health, but also our physical health. Being in the garden, being outside in nature, it can reduce blood pressure, it can reduce illness, and it can decrease symptoms of depression and anxiety. So those are two really huge things. Sorry about my dog. There's also this hormone that we all have in our body, and it's called cortisol. So that's basically that fight or flight response. So when you're experiencing, mental health struggles or feelings of depression and anxiety, oftentimes that hormone is increased. And so our fight or flight response goes up. But working in the garden, working in, the outdoors, being in the sunshine, putting your hands in the dirt, that has scientifically been proven to actually decrease those cortisol levels. So just by simply being outside and putting your hands in the dirt, being exposed to plants, having them around you, having a plant at your desk, if you can't go outside, things like that can actually decrease that stress hormone. So that's a huge thing that people have seen benefits, that I have personally seen benefits. People I have worked with, I have seen that stress hormone decrease, and that depression and anxiety really also improve. And that's something that doesn't just stay when you're in the garden. That general sense of well-being and relaxation and happiness, that carries on into our everyday life. And we keep that with us. So it's really, really beneficial to have plants around you, to work with plants, to be outdoors. It's a huge benefit to our overall mental health. And then there's also this really cool thing that research has been done more frequently with and is kind of being found now, is there are actually these little microbes in dirt and in soil that increase serotonin, which is that happy chemical that is in our brain that gives us that feeling of happiness and euphoria and joy. It's actually been compared to antidepressants. So this little microbe that's in the soil, it has the same effects as antidepressants, as SSRIs that people often take for anxiety and depression. Same benefits, but without the negative side effects and without that chemical dependency that often comes with that. And it is a healthy way to just experience, more happiness and an overall sense of well-being. Just by putting your hands in the dirt, just by taking a walk in the garden, by inhaling those microbes, by getting them on your skin and letting them absorb into your body will naturally produce more serotonin, which in turn is going to make you feel happier or decrease feelings of anxiety, decrease feelings of depression. And the cool thing about this is this doesn't just last, kind of like we were talking about before, this doesn't just last while we're in the garden, while we're surrounded by plants. This effect that comes from this increased serotonin, that actually has been proven to carry on for 3 weeks. So imagine if you were spending at least maybe 20 minutes a day outside and in the garden, the incredible effects that could have on your mood and on your body and on your physical health. So in general, gardening and being surrounded by plants is incredible for our emotions, for our physical well-being, socializing, gardening with friends, gardening with family, getting out with kids, getting out with our students, taking them outside for classes, and just really producing that happy chemical more. And so one of the ways that we can consume those microbes that are in the soil is by eating veggies that we grow. And that's just one of the many ways, or by consuming something that we have grown. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an activity where we're gonna create a wellness tea garden. So we'll have a variety of different herbs that are gonna have different wellness benefits, and we're gonna plant those in a garden, plant those in a pot, and then when they're ready, we will clip them, we'll dry them, and then we'll be able to have a tea that we have created that will target specific wellness benefits that we're looking for. So we're gonna actually move into that activity now. Alrighty, so now we're gonna get into actually making our tea garden. And we'll talk about some of the benefits for the particular herbs that we're planting in here, and then how to go about using those when actually creating your own wellness tea from them, what parts of the flower that you want to use. So the first thing that we actually have here is called bee balm. And it actually is going to be really make these beautiful red flowers, which we would end up using for the tea eventually, is kind of plucking those petals off, and you can dry them or you do not have to. And so bee balm is really, really good for stomach issues. So digestion, really good to eat, but drink before you have food if you have a hard time digesting. Good to drink afterwards, good for indigestion if you have a stomach ache, nausea, bloating, anything like that. Really, really good for menstrual cramps, almost immediately relieves those after drinking some of that tea. And also really good for coughs. So if you have a little bit of a tickle in your throat, this guy is going to be really helpful for that. So we'll go ahead and plant him. And so I already went ahead and filled this pot with some organic soil. So that in itself is already utilizing some of those benefits of gardening and horticultural therapy, because my hands are in the dirt. I'm getting some of that benefit from inhaling those microbes that are in soil that are like the antidepressant. Okay, so next what we're gonna talk about is echinacea, which is what we're gonna plant. I do like to keep the little tags, so I make sure I know what they are. So next we have echinacea. This is also going to flower, and this is really, really good for the your immune system. Treats inflammation, and it'll treat arthritis. So this is all around just like a good tea if you're using it for tea. To have every day. I drink echinacea tea every day just as a teacher, because we're around, kids all the time, more likely to get sick. I do think that this really helps my immune system. For this one, you're going to use the flowers when it flowers, and you would use the roots from this to make a tea out of that. All right, next up, we have mint. There's lots and lots of different varieties of mint. I went with sweet mint just because I really like the taste of sweet mint. But there's chocolate mint, spearmint, lots of different kinds of mint, all with very similar medicinal properties, and all that are going to make your tea taste really, really good. So mint is really great also for digestion. If you have an upset stomach or trouble digesting your food, mint is great to throw in your tea. It's actually also an antifungal. It's good to relieve headaches, and really great if you have a cold or you have the flu. So mint, and it's just gonna make your tea taste great. It smells delicious. It's a pretty hardy herb to grow. Mint is really great to have for your tea. Okay, next up we have chamomile. So chamomile is a pretty well-known type of herb that's in teas, and it's most well known for its aiding in insomnia. So you can't sleep, their chamomile tea can be great for helping relaxation. Chamomile tea is actually also really beneficial for digestion. Lots of these teas are good for digestion and for upset stomachs. And it's also good for colic. So babies who have colic, chamomile is a wonderful option, a natural wellness option for that as well. And for this one, you're gonna wanna use the flowers. So this particular one hasn't flowered yet, but it will, and when it does, that's what we will use for our tea. So next we have lavender. And not only does it smell amazing and can be used for so many things other than just teas. I like to make a simple syrup out of lavender to put in my coffee in the mornings, and I have, you know, lavender lattes. It's so good. Lavender is really great for calming anxiety. The smell is just very calming, and so when drinking it, it also is going to help to calm anxiety. Lavender can also be used to, let's see, move that, improve your sleep. So you have trouble sleeping, lavender is really great for that. And then it's also really good for muscle tension. So you can make balms, lotions, things like that out of lavender, and it's really great for muscle tension. And then lastly, we have rosemary, which you might not think of using for tea because it's used in cooking and food and things like that. So it's really great because it has a few different uses that we could use from this particular tea box. But rosemary is really great for improving memory and for giving energy. So if you're wanting a tea for sleep, you probably would not want to put rosemary in there because it is more energizing and invigorating. You know, that's going to be more your chamomile. However, if you want something that's a little bit more invigorating, rosemary is going to be a great option for that. So it boosts your energy, it actually increases your blood flow. So rosemary is a really great type of herb to put in teas for energy and things like that. You're going to use the leaves for this as well. And I would also suggest drying this one out before using it. When I dry things out for teas, what I typically do is I'll cut them and then I tie them up with twine or some ribbon, fishing line, whatever. And then I hang them upside down for a few days until they dry out. And then at that point, you can actually put them just in coffee filters and tie them up. And then there you have a tea bag. So you can create your own mixture of whatever type of tea that you would like. And so basically, in conclusion, horticulture and planting and being out in nature and gardening has so many benefits for our overall wellness. It is amazing the stuff that just being in nature can do for our own mental health. And the fact that, like humans, we live and we die just like plants do. You know, we change based on our climate, just like plants do. There's a different type of bond between humans and plants, and a different therapeutic value of that as opposed to, you know, doing a craft or something like that. There's a deeper value in tending for a plant that really we have a lot to gain from and can definitely improve our overall wellness. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you try out some of these fun ideas. I hope you get out in the garden. I hope you could just start something in the dirt, get those microbes going, and let's hope that helps anxiety and depression.